Guys, I got the brand new, very real, and very early Switch OLED here from my friend Nicole over at Super Switch Go.
It's me, Nicole, and you can get one from me too. I'm giving one away for free on my channel. Be sure to check it out.
So why am I talking about the Switch OLED on a PlayStation channel? Well, the answer to that question is very simple. I want to compare this brand new 2021 console to this one launched in 2012. Well, this is the second revision, but the original Vita launched in 2012, and honestly guys, I think it's better in a lot of ways. But before we get into that, let's talk about what's new with the Nintendo Switch hardware, because we got this thing early and it's pretty cool. First of all, from the hardware side of things, it's very similar, but they made some really cool changes. The first one being the kickstand, which is essentially useless on the other Switch, is now much better. It's like a Surface style kickstand that I feel like is gonna hold some weight. It's got a little resistance to it. This is a big improvement on the original Nintendo Switch. Obviously, the biggest upgrade you're getting with this thing though is with the screen. It's still 720p, but now it's a 7-inch OLED screen that is in the same-ish size chassis, so you've got reduced bezels, and obviously the screen itself looks a whole lot better. It's on. I did it. Guys, I don't even need to have the original Switch next to this one to tell you that this is like about 110% brighter. It looks a lot better even though it's the same resolution. A, again, because it's a little bit bigger, and B, because this is OLED. The thing you get with OLED that everyone likes is a lot brighter colors, they're a lot more deep, and then you also get blacks that are black. Like when we turned this thing on, we didn't actually know it was on, and we were like, uh-oh, did we get a bricked unit? And then the Nintendo logo popped up. But it's because the blacks are so good in the screen, it looked like the screen was off even though it was on. Playing games on it is about the same because the stuff inside is very similar to what we have on the other Switch, so you're basically targeting around 720p 30 frames per second in handheld mode. Now obviously those frame rates are all over the place depending on what Switch game you're playing. Some of them run at 60, most of them run at less than 30, but yeah, the target on the handheld mode is 720p 30 frames per second. The other minor upgrade you get is this new and improved dock. Now it looks a lot nicer on the surface, it's got a very tech bro vibe to it, it's white, but when you touch it and hold it, it feels about just as cheap as the other one you got with the other Nintendo Switch, which means, yeah, I feel like this thing will still probably scratch the screen of your Switch if you put it in a little bit too rough. You know what I'm saying? That is a that's what she said moment. Do not say it in the comments. I don't want to hear it. And another area where I think it still feels just as cheap is that even though this back looks a lot sleeker and nicer, when you go to like take the cover off, it's just like the cheapest plastic you've ever held, and it just pops off. So I don't know, I might just honestly leave it off on my dock when I get one of these things. And then of course, the big upgrade with the dock, other than there being more space for cords, is the fact that it has a LAN port. So when you're playing the like 5 games that you might actually play online with on the Nintendo Switch, it'll work a little bit better than it does on the original Nintendo Switch, which has possibly the worst implemented online service of all time. You can't even voice chat on the Nintendo Switch still. But yeah, with the intro out of the way, I think it's about time we start comparing this 2021 console to this one from 2012. Let's talk about the PS Vita. So this is actually the second PS Vita they came out with. They did a like slim model that really was a slim model, vertically at least. And this is the one that I got the day it came out, but I also got the OLED model on launch day. And I got the Uncharted Golden Abyss game with it, and pretty much every other launch game that I could possibly afford at the time, which, side note, was not a lot of launch games. Now, even though the Vita is pushing 10 years old, this second version still looks really good today. Now, obviously, the 5.5-inch screen is a little small and it is 544p, but because it is a small 5-inch screen, 544p doesn't look all that bad. And even though this isn't OLED, the LCD in here is very, very bright. Honestly, I'm gonna be real with you guys, I think it reproduces color and looks a lot brighter than the Nintendo Switch. Regular model, not the OLED. And when it comes to the operating system, just like it was at launch, it's still a mixed bag. So the like bubble system that they have, where you can make folders that are bubbles and then you've got bubbles within bubbles, I don't think it's necessarily the best. I wish they would have gone with the cross media bar like the PS3 had, or even whatever the PS4 had. I guess it's a cross media bar as well, just like an evolution of it. It's just both of those versions are way better than this bubble system, and it feels like they made it different for the sake of being different. But once you get inside the actual apps themselves, like the settings app for example, it feels exactly how it should. Everything is laid out vertically, the text is nice and easy to read, the touchscreen works great, it's easy to tap into menus, connect to Wi-Fi, connect to Bluetooth headphones, which is something you could do from the very beginning with the PS Vita that you just got the ability to do on the Nintendo Switch. Switch. You can sign into the full PlayStation Network. You can see trophies all the way up to PS4 for some reason, and they sync very slowly, but all of that is there. Everything you want to be inside the OS is great. It's just not the best looking OS. Another area where I guess you could say the PS Vita has the Switch beat is that it has a camera, but honestly guys, I don't think the system even needed a camera. That was a gimmick that was included with the 3DS to have a 3D camera, and obviously Sony didn't want to get knocked for not including one, so they put this garbage quality camera right on the back. Another thing about the Vita that I completely forgot about is the back touchpad. Now at the time, no one really thought this was a great idea, and still in practice, I would have really appreciated the L2 and R2 buttons like we have on the Switch. But it was a cool new type of tech, and having touch on both sides was a cool selling point for Sony, I guess. And it worked really well if you use the PS4 link, where you could connect to your PS4 on the same Wi-Fi network and basically treat your Vita as a portable PS4. You would use the back touchpad as the L2 and R2. And I remember when I was going for the Platinum in Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag and I had to grind out the multiplayer and prestige in it, this thing was a godsend. Also playing stuff like Resogun on it before it got its native PS Vita port. It was just such a great console, and even though the touchpad, again, is not as good as an L2 and R2, it's good enough, and it was awesome back in the day before we even had a Nintendo Switch. As far as the thumbsticks go, they're a lot smaller obviously than what we have on the Switch, but they've got just a bit more travel and they've got a bit more grip. They don't feel bad at all, and as far as I know, the Vita has no issue with stick drift. I've been playing stuff like Killzone Mercenary, which I went back to see how it looked and ran in 2021. Honestly, it holds up pretty well, and the sticks work just fine. The game is very good too, so if you've never played it before, you can get it on the cheap, and I highly recommend it. And I know the joke with the PS Vita was that it had no games, but honestly guys, this far into the life cycle, it has a ton of games. Now the first party stuff, like I mentioned, we have Killzone Mercenary, we have Uncharted Golden Abyss, we have Freedom Wars, we have Soul Sacrifice Delta. Those are all well and good, they're fine games, but that's not really the bread and butter of this system. This system lived and died by its indie game selection, and ironically, a lot of the best games on the Nintendo Switch on the indie side were on the PS Vita before they were on the Switch by quite a few years. I loaded up Shovel Knight, and you've got the Treasure Trove edition of Shovel Knight, which they actually made free on the PSN, so I got this free version of Shovel Knight. I downloaded straight to my PS Vita, and it's the Treasure Trove one. So I've got the Shadow Knight, the first boss, whatever. He's like the Grim Reaper who floats around. You've got his expansion, you've got King Knight's expansion, you've got the original Shovel Knight game. It's all included on the PS Vita, which again is a 10-year-old system. You've also got the Hotline Miami collection, 1 and 2. Hotline Miami 2 also debuted on PlayStation Plus, so that was another free game that I absolutely love. And I remembered, I completely forgot that Hotline Miami was such a big deal to me on Vita until I was playing The Last of Us Part 2, and there's a part where Ellie comes out of the water and there's actually someone sitting there playing a PS Vita with earbuds in, and they're playing Hotline Miami. That was an awesome Easter egg in The Last of Us Part 2, and just going back, even though I have it on the Switch, all of my memories with Hotline Miami and Hotline Miami 2 are on the Vita, so it was very nostalgic. Same with Shovel Knight, like loading it up almost, like 6, 7, 8 years later and having all of my saves be there and just work is crazy. And as far as the PSN features go, you've got pretty much everything you had on the PS4. I already mentioned trophies, you can accept or deny friend requests, you can do messaging, you can do cross-game party chat. This thing was so ahead of its time, and still, it's doing stuff that the Nintendo Switch cannot do. You cannot join a chat session with your friends on the Nintendo Switch. That is something the PS Vita, a system from 2012, was doing since day one. And now we gotta talk about backwards compatibility, because while the PS5 is stuck in terrible land where there's no backwards compatibility past the PS4, this thing is a portable powerhouse. You've got Vita games, right? You've got all those indies, you've got all those AAA experiences Sony developed on their own, but you also have pretty much every game that was ever released for the PSP. So if you own those games digitally, which you were able to do on the PSP, which is awesome that the PSP was able to download games, side note, you could just download them straight to your Vita. Now it's missing two very important games, which are Crisis Core, the Final Fantasy VII spinoff, and the Kingdom Hearts games that were on the PSP, but still, there's plenty of other games on the PSP that are well worth playing that look and play so much better on this device because you can map the second thumbstick to the face buttons and it doesn't replace them. So Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, for example, is a game where you aim with the face buttons on the PSP, but you can set the right stick to be the face buttons and then it plays like Metal Gear Solid 3. That is one of the best games ever made. I'd honestly say it's probably my favorite game of all time. So if you've never played Peace Walker, buy it in the 360 collection, buy it in the PS3 collection, or grab your PS Vita and download the PSP version because there's like 50 to 60 hours of content there and all of it is amazing. And then you've got PS1 emulation and they have added so many PS1 games to the PlayStation Store. If you had a PS3 and you were downloading all those PS1 games as they were coming out, you can just download them for free right here on your Vita. I have stuff like Castlevania Symphony of the Night, which is one of the greatest games of all time and is not available on the Switch. Now it is annoying that when you die in that game, it kicks you back to the main menu, but that's a minor gripe for one of the best games ever made. Of course, you also have stuff like Metal Gear Solid. Now that one is a little different because you had to actually transfer it from a PS3, which was kind of a pain in the butt. I borrowed one from work. Like I took one that Austin had laying around that we used for a video to like comparing the Ultimate PS3 to the Ultimate PS4 or something. I took that PS3 home after it was all updated and I made sure I transferred Metal Gear Solid onto this bad boy so I can always have that on the go. You can also get stuff like Crash Bandicoot that way, which is awesome. So it was a cool way to have workarounds and stuff like that. And I know you're sitting there saying, Jimmy, why doesn't it have PS2 emulation? And the reason for that is a lot of the PS3 remastered collections of PS2 games made their way to the Vita, like the God of War collection. You get God of War 1, God of War 2, the 2 PSP games, you're good to go. You just download it to your Vita. Jak and Daxter collection, all 3 Jak and Daxter games, good to go. Ratchet and Clank collection, good to go. Everything you want to play is natively on the PS Vita from the PS2 generation. Like this console has so many games, it's insane. Now the one thing you're missing is of course first-party Nintendo games. But guys, I can tell you right now, past Mario Odyssey and The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Nintendo's basically been putting Wii U ports and 3DS style games upscaled onto the Nintendo Switch. I'm sorry, I'm gonna offend some people. Their first-party offerings really took a steep dive off a cliff as soon as they got Odyssey out of the way. So yeah, I know you gotta kind of take everything I say here with a grain of salt because the channel's called PSReady, but it's still insane to me that this console is 10 years old almost. Next year, it'll be 10 years old. And the Nintendo Switch, which just got another revision past the Lite, past the better battery version they already did. Now we've got the OLED version, and they're still, to this day, catching up with the PS Vita. That is nuts. That is why Sony's got to come back and make a PSP 3 or Vita 2. Whatever they want to call it, I don't care. They gotta make it. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this unboxing slash comparison slash review. Let me know if you want to see more videos like this down in the comments below. And remember to subscribe and set your notifications to all if you haven't already. As always guys, my name is Jimmy Champagne and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.